Morning all, thanks for joining us today for the last in the current series of the Plymouth Science Park Together webinar series. I'm really pleased to be able to welcome Xander Tilley from Bluescreen IT this morning. Bluescreen IT have been at Plymouth Science Park for the last sort of 3 years or so. I think they came in about 2017. They've been operating for a good number of years now, so about 16 years. Absolutely delighted, really looking forward to hearing the presentation. Zander's going to be talking about cybersecurity trends that you should know about that have been going on in the last 3 weeks or so. So I'm going to hand you over now to Zander, and off you go.
Cool, thanks Faye. Let me just quickly turn my camera on so you guys can see me. Oh, and the camera covers off, there we go. Hello, yep, so I'm Xander Tilley, I'm a SOC Analyst at Bluescreen IT. I've been there for almost 2 years now, but like Faye said, Bluescreen's been at the Science Park for since 2017. Bluescreen's been around since 2004, but doing cybersecurity training and stuff like that. And when I think 2016, Bluescreen had a community security operations center, or also known as a pop-up SOC of what we had. And then once it kind of expanded, and then in 2017, when we moved to the Science Park, it became a bigger SOC then. And now we do affordable cybersecurity services, monitoring, stuff like that. Okay, cool. So, like Faye said, this webinar is going to be about the cybersecurity and the sort of trends that have been happening around recently. So, I don't know from what was said yesterday by the Foreign Secretary. Actually, he actually mentioned that a few stuff has been happening in reference to phishing and stuff like that, and how they've managed to stop some stuff. From Bluescreen's perspective and what we've seen and a rise of trends and stuff like that are these three here. So the phishing, wireless attacks, and social engineering. I'll probably go into a little bit more of those later on. And before the lockdown, these still were widely used and still very popular, as you could probably tell by phishing anyways, because that's still broadly used anywhere, and it's probably the most common sort of attack that most people would most likely see anyways. So I'll actually start off with phishing. So phishing is probably what everyone's expecting. It's everywhere. It's just fake emails that are constantly coming into your inbox asking for a specific details of some sort, but within the COVID-19 lockdown, they've kind of directed it towards more here, have a free testing kit, stuff like that. And they've kind of used hackers or malicious actors have used the coronavirus outbreak as sort of leverage, really, to try and grab people's attention, use a bit of a fear factor within the emails to try and get hold of stuff that they're most likely not going to be able to from people who are more wise to these phishing attacks, and try and get them onto it as well. Like I said before, though, phishing attacks are still been around before. Reference to like here, I have bank details and stuff like that. Yeah, I think phishing. I think most people are still quite wise to it, anyways. I mean, I think most people are still aware that if you do have a phishing email, you're most likely going to see that looks a little bit dodgy, get rid of it. If it's some random email address that's spelt wrong or something like that, then you just get rid of it. Then you also, like it says here, check the link. If the link's been provided, you just hover over the link, and at the bottom left you should see the actual link of where it's going to. If it's something like a bit.ly or something like that, a shortened link, just don't click it. If it looks a little off, then just don't click it, full stop, just discard it. But if it does seem okay and it does look legitimate, then go ask the person and go say, did you send me this email? If they didn't, then discard it completely, and then let that person know that someone may have access to their emails. In terms of the COVID-19 lockdown, they might not necessarily be from trusted sources. They might just be from an attempt of a government email or something like that, or like a no reply at something or something like that. Next, so we've got the wireless attacks. This is still a major threat. Phishing, I'd say, is a little bit higher on the trends and stuff because it's so widely used. But because everybody's working from home and everybody's kind of secure in their own homes, there's still ways of people driving past your home and picking up the Wi-Fi signal and then just taking it that way. Stuff like that can include evil twin attacks, the authentication handshake captures and stuff like that, where they can basically sit in the car outside your house, create a fake version of your own Wi-Fi, and your devices will connect to it that way, and then they can take data and stuff like that. But there are ways to get around stuff like that. There are VPNs. I mean, VPNs are brilliant when it comes to wireless stuff. Even I think most people are probably aware when you're on a free Wi-Fi, use VPN. That means you're secure and you're safe. It says in the bottom right, do not use free VPNs because you don't know where they're going. I mean, as is one Turbo VPN, which I have seen it, and there are some other ones. Don't know a few off the top of my head, but not too sure where they go. So just simple, don't use them. So stuff like Proton VPN, ExpressVPN, and NordVPN, they are paid for services. You can get free, like 30-day trials of them. Use those trials. They're great just to see which one you prefer as personal preference. But VPNs are brilliant, even especially if you're working from home and you need, you're doing confidential work on your laptop that you've taken home. You may already have a VPN set up for you to connect into work, but there's no harm in you using one of these to kind of secure your own personal devices as well, just to keep the whole wireless network at your home safe. I cannot stress VPNs enough. They are really good for stuff like this. And then I think go on to social engineering. So social engineering is kind of like it says there, the manipulation of using people humans trust. So it's not as widely used currently because a lot of social engineering is from the inside of I say inside more people personally coming up to you in person, but they not particularly won't be doing that now because obviously the 2-meter rules and stuff like that. But there are ways of them still doing so. They can. Phishing does also come into this because they're impersonating someone, saying that they're someone else. And the social engineering is very unexpected. It's not something you'd really come up to and go, that looks a little bit off. If you've accidentally left your door unlocked and someone could walk in and just use your laptop or just put a USB into the laptop and you wouldn't know about it. There are other ways. Social engineering does cover trends. So recently, since the lockdown, Zoom has had a rise in uses, and they will use vulnerabilities within Zoom to kind of manipulate how the meeting is going, what is going on, and then they can take full control of different things. Social engineering it's massive in the whole thing of black hat hacking because it's doesn't necessarily need to be on the computer. They can go anywhere. So phishing, smishing, and vishing. So they're different versions of phishing. So you can have it on a text message coming from the government or a bank, something like that. And then there's vishing, which is which is video phishing, which is what Zoom would be if they were someone just to join anonymously, and then they would start or I want to say blackmail, but it's more other stuff that they can do. It's very wide of what they can do that in that situation. There are other ways. There's, like I said earlier, they could just walk in the door. They could do it piggybacking or tailgating, so they can just literally just walk in and do what they want. Some people aren't working from home, so they can just use this lockdown as leverage, so there's no one going to be around, so they can just walk through the door and get whatever information they need if they need to. There's the USB drop that goes around in car parks. That is not as popular as phishing or something like that, but you will also have they will happen because when people drive in, they might see a USB because the lockdown, nobody's around, so they will most likely pick it up because it's no one's around to pick this up. I'll just use it. So there are many different ways of social engineering, and it does kind of lead back into other stuff like the phishing stuff, like I mentioned earlier with smishing and phishing. There are many other versions of it, and they will use the COVID-19 pandemic to use that as leverage in all of these different things. So the phishing, the wireless attack, and the social engineering. They were all social engineering on any sort of COVID-19 leverage will always be put onto this. So if in a wireless sort of example, they would create an evil twin of, or a fake version of your device that you're the router that you're connected to. They connect to that, and then they can create a what's a captive portal. So you have to log into this piece to then access the internet, and you can use those, and they can say, if you sign up here, you can get a free testing kit, or it could send you to a fake government website, and it can give you a fear factor of saying there's cases of it in your area. Do you want to come in for a free test and some of that? Give us your details, and we'll send you the stuff. But not all of them are bad. Yes, evil twin fake access points are very bad, and they shouldn't be around because it's copying your own thing. But if you are to find genuine emails from the government not asking for free stuff or asking for details and stuff, you can trust those. I'm not saying completely disregard those. They are obviously very important currently. It's just trying to keep an eye out on kind of what's been going on and how to kind of stop these people using this as leverage when it's probably the worst time to do so, because everybody's so stressed and trying to deal with their own things on top of work, and then having to work from home. It's just trying to basically just ease it out a little bit more. Yep, again, as I mentioned again, I'm going to keep going back through the slides. Just VPNs, they can also help with this stuff as well. Social engineering, if you let's say you're connected to some server in Sweden or something like that, all of that data will be encrypted. So if you're doing some work on your device and you've just left the device on its own and you're VPN'd in, the attacker can use that and go, well, it came from Sweden, I don't know what this is, but they can also kind of accidentally stop it. So then you can kind of stop when see certain times. You can get timestamps and stuff like that. But only if they've turned it off themselves. But also VPNs, in terms of if they were to social engineer through phishing and stuff like that, all the traffic that they will try and grab from a phishing attack or something, that will be encrypted and they will not be able to see it. So it will help massively. Ways to stop social engineering. Again, as before, be careful with your emails. Like I just said again, everything will be encrypted when you're using VPN, so they might not necessarily be able to see stuff. Always lock your laptop when you move away. Even if you are at home, always do a Windows L or a Control Command Q, or whatever it is on a Macintosh. Always lock it, because yes, you might be you might trust the people in your household, and you might be the only person in your household, but always lock your laptop no matter what, because people can still look through your windows and see your screen. There have been cases of home routers facing the other way towards a window, and the password is facing the window, so people can just use a pair of binoculars or something like that and just look in and just see the Wi-Fi password. And the same thing can happen with your laptops. They can look in and see things, and even if it's not facing the window, people might still be able to walk in and accidentally see stuff they shouldn't have. So even if they didn't mean it, so always lock your laptop, turn off the device when you're done. That is something that isn't mentioned quite a bit as much as locking your laptop. There are ways of turning the device back on. If it's in standby, you can turn it back on if something is enabled on the device. And people can use that to then turn your device back on and use the information and data that's on there. So if you do a full shutdown on the device, then it will be a lot better for the laptop and for the people you're working for, because then nothing is going to really get away. And plus, there's good health for the device anyways, because it will probably start rising up some problems as well. Always keep your programs up to date. Antivirus, anti-malware, a lot of that should really be up to date anyways. The moment there's an update for it, update it. The moment there's an update for Windows, a Mac, or Linux, update it. Even if it's just a normal program, if it's Firefox or something like that, always update it, because there will be vulnerabilities. They might not necessarily say it in patch notes, but something might creep up and then you need to update it. There are cases of people going, well, there's no vulnerabilities, I'm secure, why should I update it? No matter what, even if you've never encountered a phishing email, if you've never encountered a fake access point, or if you've just never encountered some sort of attack before, always keep yourself up to date, because otherwise you are vulnerable. There will always be a way to find a way in, but if you keep yourself up to date, it shrinks that down a lot, so you'll be at less risk then. So yeah, I think the learning points for this is always have a VPN on whilst you work. Again, can't stress it enough. VPNs are great. Encrypt all your traffic between the device and wherever you're going. Even browser data, that is all encrypted. Everything is locked down. No one can kind of see what you're doing, only you. If you've got a VPN into work and you can get to and from, that's great as well, because obviously you can start working there, but always good to have like another one like ExpressVPN or Nord. Always be careful with emails that do look a bit off, and especially if they're offering free stuff. If it's too good to be true, it's probably not. There's been cases of people going, oh look, free stuff, a free testing kit, or oh, I've won £500. It's most likely fake. That's one of the big selling points of a phishing one. You just don't click them. If there's a link, always check, like I mentioned before, always check the link, check the person, if it's been sent from, if it has been sent from a trusted area or source, then ask them. And if they haven't sent it, let them know and just discard the email. And always be careful what people can see on your device, because otherwise, even if you do trust that person, they have seen data, so you have to, if they have seen it, you then have to let people know that, okay, so and so has seen this, we might need to change a certain password or something like that. So even if you do trust them, or if it's someone who's looked through a window and you've seen them do it, then always good to change passwords and make sure everything is locked down and secure after that. I think that's it. Is there any questions?
Thanks so much for that, Zander. I think there was a lot for people to think about there. It's quite sad, really, isn't it, that people are kind of using this opportunity to create cyber threats, but something that everyone should be aware of. One of the questions we've had is whether you could just briefly explain the difference between malware and a virus.
So a virus is kind of what it is in health terms. So a virus will actually latch onto a host. So a virus will grab onto a program, like let's say if a virus was to have appeared and it will attach onto your browser, it will use it, the virus will only start executing commands and scripts once that browser has started. So once that is up, it will then start kicking all of its scripts and its nasty stuff out, really. And then the malware is more a broad term for it all. So a malware would be, you can point it into different directions. So malware could be spyware, worm, or virus. So the malware is more of a bigger term for it. You've got just all round bad scripts and executables and stuff like that. So malware, you can, like I said, just said, you can split it from virus to worm to spyware and stuff like that.
Great, thank you. And for people listening, how easy is it to set up a VPN? Is it something they can do themselves, or does it require particular expertise?
You can quite literally just go onto a website like Proton VPN, download it, set up an account, download the installer, install it. Should just pop up with the window for it, and it's with especially Proton VPN, it's as easy as just clicking quick connect, and it connects you to a device, a server somewhere in the world, and then you're just connected.
That's great. And are there particular antivirus softwares that you'd recommend?
I wouldn't say recommend per se, because I don't want anything to kind of come back on Bluescreen just in case something bad does happen. But good ones are like Malwarebytes, Bitdefender, Sophos, stuff like that. They are the really good high-end ones, stuff like that. They are the really good ones, but I won't recommend anything per se, just in case something bad happens and it could potentially go back on Bluescreen. So.
No, that's great. And I think, you know, at the end, if people wanted to get in touch with you, Faye will be sending out an email, so maybe people could get in touch to find out a bit more.
Yeah.
And since lockdown started, have you seen much of an uplift in cybercrime and problems?
Especially in phishing, like I mentioned before, a lot more like articles and stuff that we do on threat hunting and stuff like that while we are monitoring and doing day-to-day job. Phishing trends have gone up a lot because of the way that they can use the COVID-19 pandemic. In terms of social engineering, I don't think it's risen a lot, but it has risen because people can use the whole phishing aspect of it and then throw it into and how the pandemic has happened. And I've not noticed it myself, but I'm pretty sure people have actually gone in to empty buildings that they can now enter because no one's there, and they can now just take information that nobody knows that they're there. So.
Great, and I think you sort of touched on that there, that kind of what is the worst outcome that can happen from some of these kinds of attacks?
So I think the worst possible outcome, depending on really what the malicious actor's interests are. So you would have, if the hacker would have to have a bit of an ego like thing, they would more go towards like start putting stuff into your devices saying, hey, look where I am, and it just be as simple as that. Or they could be more money driven, so then it would be more, I've locked, like ransomware, where they would lock down all of your information, everything, and they will ask for money back, which I'm pretty sure most people are aware, because as of last year, quite a lot of ransomware did happen across the world. I think it has dropped slightly. I think that is probably the worst possible outcome, is as if they've locked everything down and they're expecting money back. There are other ways. There are just like people deleting files, people creating files and just allowing themselves just to drop in whenever they want. So it kind of all depends on the the attacker's sort of preference and how they kind of act, really.
Yes, lots of people to be aware of and to look out for. And if people wanted to find out a bit more, how can they learn more about protecting their business from cyber threats?
I think Bluescreen are always happy to help as well. We can always drop an email back, make sure that people are safe, make sure stuff like that. We always do the monitoring stuff as well for companies. So we use SIEM solutions and stuff like that to keep an eye on the traffic, keep an eye on the devices, make sure everything's fine. There are other like completely free open source YouTube videos or just courses on Udemy or Pluralsight that just kind of help with people and just say, this is how you stay connected, this is great, don't do this, and it's all safe like that. So a lot of the stuff is open source, but there are places like Bluescreen where we do provide an affordable cybersecurity solution to then monitor the company and make sure everything's fine there.
That's great. Thank you so much for your presentation, for answering those questions. And for any tenants listening, Faye will be able to put you directly in contact with Zander or another member of the Bluescreen team. And anyone else listening, Bluescreen's website is bluescreenit.co.uk. So I'll now hand back over to Faye.
Yeah, Zander, thank you so much. That was excellent. Who knew phishing, schmishing, vishing, evil twins? What a great way to start a Wednesday morning. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you. A great way to end our sort of the current webinar series for Plymouth Science Park with our Plymouth Science Park Together series.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. We should be having a podcast series starting soon. Details to follow. And I would just say to everyone, please keep sending your one good news story. We're sort of any good news story, send it over. We can put that in onto our sort of social media platforms and share everybody's good news stories whilst the lockdown is still up and up and with us. So just wanted to say thank you to Elle and Zander, and we'll take care, everyone. We'll see you soon.